Some days the mind feels too crowded to begin writing. Thoughts are present, but they don't want to line up. On days like that, there's an assumption that writing should push through, that effort will organize the noise, that if you sit long enough with a blank page, something coherent will eventually appear. But sometimes the page asks for a different kind of preparation. Today, writing didn't come first, a poem did. Not a new poet. It was William Wordsworth. A quieter poem, a very old poem. The kind that doesn't insist on being understood immediately. I read it slowly, not because I was trying to be careful, but because it naturally slowed me down. I didn't analyze it. I didn't look for themes. I didn't even reread it right away. I just let it sit there like something placed gently on a table. There's something about returning to poets you grew up with. Wordsworth, Shelley, the Romantics. They were part of my life early. School, college, long afternoons spent believing that language could actually hold feeling without embarrassment. I keep going back to them, not out of nostalgia, but because they don't hurry me. Their poems don't rush towards conclusions. They stay with sensation, with attention, with what it feels like to notice the world carefully. After sitting with the poem for a while, my blank page didn't feel so intimidating. Writing didn't begin with an idea, it began with a tone, a steadiness, a willingness to stay instead of form. What followed wasn't commentary on the poem, it wasn't a response or an interpretation. It was something quieter, a few lines shaped by the same slowness the poem had introduced. A poetry that no one might read today because it's slow, it's soft, and it's about nature. That's something poetry does well. It doesn't tell you what to write, it changes the pace at which you think. And that change in pace matters. When writing follows poetry, it often carries less urgency, less need to explain or justify itself. The sentences don't try to impress, they try to be accurate. I think that's why I return to poets like Wordsworth and Shelley when I feel mentally cluttered. They remind me that writing doesn't have to solve anything. It can simply notice. It can observe. It can stay close to feeling without turning it into insight. The poem ended, but the state it created stayed a little longer. Long enough for writing to happen without force. So today I'm reading more poetry. And I'd like to add a few poets to that list. Is there a poet you return to when you don't know what to write, but still want to stay close to language?